Hey guys, this is the sheet that you'll be using to draw your CO2 car on. Here we have the side of the car, and here we have the top of the car. We have 6 rules that you need to follow, and I just want to go over those rules real quick. The first one, the minimum length of car, 150 millimeters. I put a ruler up here, and I measure to 15 centimeters or 150 millimeters. Put a mark. That is the shortest my car can be. It says minimum length, so that means it cannot be shorter than this here. From the back of the car to here to the front of the car, you can't be shorter than that. If your car stops here, it's too short and you're in violation. You can be longer. It doesn't say anything about the length of the car. It just says that you can't be shorter than this. So that was pretty easy. So we'll mark that one out. We're going to go to minimum CO2 housing thickness. What is that? What is CO2 housing? Well, that's the hole that you're going to drill in your wood to put the cartridge into. And so that hole is represented here by this solid line on both drawings, and the cartridge fits right into it. And so imagine this being a piece of wood and it fitting inside. Now the hole's actually inside the wood, not on the side of the wood, but inside the wood. So just realize that as well. But you can't draw through this. You can't draw through this hole. If you do, that means because the lines that you draw, you're going to cut. And if you were to cut through the hole, then you don't have a hole anymore. So be careful about that. But minimum CO2 housing thickness. So in other words, how much wood do you have to have around the hole? How close can you get to it? Can't cut through it, but how close can I draw a line to it? And it says the minimum is 4 millimeters. Well, 4 millimeters is pretty small. I'll start here, 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's about 4 millimeters there. So I can't draw a line closer to that line than that right there. And the same thing over here, and the same thing over here. I can't draw anything closer than around that. And the same thing for the hole up here as well. So 4 millimeters. All right. And we'll actually skip down because the next few things that we're talking about have a lot to do with where you place your wheels at. So where will the wheels on your car go? You don't need to drill the wheels, but what you can do is just show where the axle holes will be. In other words, where are the holes? Where will the holes be that you'll put the axles through that will hold on the wheels? And you'll show that on this view here, the side view of the car. So let's just say I put an axle hole here, and I'm going to put one, let's say right here. And if you noticed, I put them between those two lines. And I drew those two lines up there for you so that you would know. You can't put an axle hole above this line, and you can't put an axle hole below that line, okay? These dashed lines here, you can't put axle holes above this line, and you can't put axle holes below this line. They have to be between the two. And that is what this rule right here talks about. So we can mark that one out. Minimum wheelbase, 80 millimeters. That's the distance from your front wheel to your back wheel, the center of them. From the center of your front wheel to the center of your back wheel. So if we measure this one, 0 to 100, that's 100 millimeters, 10 centimeters or 100 millimeters. So we're above 80, and that's good. That means we're fine. If we were like at 60 or 75, that would not be good. You can't go below 80 because it says minimum wheelbase. That's the minimum it can be. It can be more than that, like I have here, 100, but it can't be less than that. So distance from the front axle hole to the back axle hole. And we're done with that one. Distance from the axle hole, the last one here, distance from axle hole to the end of the car, 9 to 50 millimeters. What in the world does that mean? So all that means is how far is your axle hole to the end of the car? If it's the rear axle hole, how close is it to the rear of the car? If it's the front axle hole, how close is it to the front of the car? So if I measure here, this one's about 30. Is it less than 9? No. Is it more than 50? No. So I'm good on that. This one over here is about 20. Let's say I'm going to say that this is the front of my car here. This one's about 20. And so am I less than 9? No. Am I more than 50? No. So I'm good on that one as well. So it's just a distance. And that's there for safety reasons. If you made it less than 9 and put the axle hole really close to the front of the car, then that axle could break out and fly out. And these cars go pretty fast, so we don't want anything breaking out and flying out of the car like that. The next one has to do with safety as well. A lot of these have to do with safety when you look at how fast these cars go. So we're done with this one. This is probably one of the harder ones for people to understand. I'm going to sketch out a car real quick. I'm going to start with the top up here, and I'm staying away from that hole. And I'm going to just kind of slope it down and bring it down like that. There goes my car. So that means all of this is waste. See that? All that's going to be wasted wood. Okay? And that's fine. This is my car right here. The hole goes in the back, a wheel, and a wheel. Is this the best car? Absolutely not. That's just a model of a car I'm drawing now. This one that I accidentally scribbled through here says minimum width of car at each axle, 25 millimeters. So at each axle, that's important. And it says the width of the car. Well, here I see height. I do not see width. I only see width on the top view, so I must look at width here. But where are the axles at? Well, since this all lines up, I can easily tell. If I just go straight up, then my axle should be going through right here. All right? You say, wait, man, that goes through the hole. No, it's actually going to go underneath the hole. So you're fine with that. Don't worry about that. The axle will be underneath the hole in the wood. And here, if I go straight up, there goes my other axle hole. So what is the width of the car across here? And if we measure, this is about 35. And so that's more than 25, and so we're good. But I really haven't made a drawing on the top yet. What will my drawing on the top be? Well, first of all, the drawing on the top has nothing to do with the drawing here, except that they're the same length. They should be the same length. So when I bring this up, something else I can do is bring this straight up, and my car should stop here, because the length of these two cars, it's the same car. The length of these two pictures should be the same. Now what do I do? Well, here I know I've got a minimum of 25. Let me show you what that looks like real quick. If I estimate that really quick, 25, and try to get about the same amount on each side, let's see, somewhere along in here and here. In other words, I can't make it less. Now, the width right here of the axle can't be less than that. And the same back here. Okay, but it can be less here. So a lot of times you see CO2 cars and they look like, I call them snakeheads, because they come out and then they go back in. Oh, by the way, look at this. I'm making this symmetrical. What does symmetrical mean? Symmetrical means it's the same on both sides. And that's why I put this dashed line. What's this dashed line here for? It's just the center. It shows the center. Since this needs to be a symmetrical drawing on top, then I put this here so you can kind of see if it's the same on both sides. And I can, this is just a sketch, but I already see that this is a little closer here than it is here. So it's not, I'd have to redo that. Oh, there goes my hole there, so I have to go around that, right? There goes my hole. I have to go around it. I can't get too close to it. I have to stay away from that hole and stay away here. A lot of times people just bring this straight back. It's just easy to bring it straight back, and then once you go in the shop, if you want to sand a little bit of this side off, you can. So right now I have a legal drawing. Everything is correct about this. The width is okay, the length is okay, where my axle holes are at are okay. I haven't drawn into the hole or gotten too close to the hole. Let's draw another one real quick and see if you see any problems with it. Alright, so let's put an axle hole here, and let's put one here, and let's do a car that comes like that, and then let's see, we'll do a car that looks, whoops, I'm going to use a different color here. We'll draw a car that looks like this. And some of you may be looking at this and thinking, what in the world is he doing? Well, this is a typical drawing that I get from students. So what problems do we see? Well, first of all, the length of the car is less than 150. So this car is in violation already. Number 2, my axle holes. Now they are between the two lines. That's great. Ooh, they're right at 80, aren't they? So actually, technically, that's okay. How about the distance from my axle hole to the back of the car? Is that 9 or less? No, it's less than 9, as you can see. And so that's a violation. Look at this. I drew right through the hole. So I got too close to the hole. That would make that car not even workable. Up here at the top, my drawing is symmetrical. That's good. It's the same length, even though it's too short, at least they're the same length. But here, when I drew back, I drew right on the side of the hole. Well, if I draw right on the side of the hole, that means I'm cutting the hole completely out, and I have no hole anymore. So that won't work. You have to come around the hole. That's why it says 4 millimeters. You can't touch the lines. You have to come around the hole, okay? Also, up here, if my axle goes through right here, then is that going to be 25 millimeters? And if I measure, no, that's not. That's only about 15. So that's a violation as well. That is not 25 millimeters. If I look at the back here, and it goes through here again, don't worry about that. It goes through the hole. It's going to go underneath the hole. So that's fine. That's only 20. And regardless, that's already a violation, but this is still too narrow. So you got to make it wider wherever the axle goes through. So this is not a good car. Not a good example of a car. Lots of violations here. You may have to try more than once to draw a good car, and then once you get a good design, then you need to spend some time drawing a really neat, symmetrical, good drawing. Not one that looks like junk, not one that's sketched out and it's kind of ugly. You need to draw a very, very good drawing for your final drawing for this. Thank you.